Hey there, story fans. Get ready for an awesome tale that's going to grab you and not let go. Imagine a guy named Big Shaq. He was the loudest, flashiest person in his whole town. His house. Oh man, it was a giant mansion. It was so huge that when you saw it, your mouth would fall open like, whoa. Big Shaq had everything cool you could think of: fancy cars that zoomed super fast, a pool so shiny it looked like it was made of sparkly diamonds, and a big grin on his face all the time. That grin was like him shouting to the world, "Nobody can touch me. I'm the best." Everyone in town knew who Big Shaq was. If you walked down the street, people would point and say, "There's Big Shaq. Look at his cool stuff." Most people wished they could be like him. They wanted his big house, his fast cars, and that amazing pool. They thought, wow, he's so lucky. Big Shaq loved that. He loved showing off. He'd drive his shiny cars around town, honking the horn so everyone would look. He'd throw big parties by his pool, laughing and yelling so loud the whole neighborhood could hear. To him, life was one big, loud party, and he was the king of it all. But not everyone thought Big Shaq was so great. There was one person who didn't care about his fancy cars or his sparkling pool. Her name was Anie. She was a quiet lady who worked for something called the Homeowners Association, or HOA for short. The HOA is like a group that makes rules for the neighborhood to keep everything nice and fair. Anie was the one who made sure people followed those rules. She wasn't loud like Big Shaq. She didn't drive fancy cars or throw big parties. Most of the time, people didn't even notice her. She'd walk around with a clipboard, checking things quietly, and nobody paid much attention. To them, she was just the boring rule lady. "Oh, it's just Anie," they'd say, and then they'd forget about her. But here's the thing: Anie wasn't boring at all. She had a secret. A big, huge, exciting secret that nobody in town knew about. She wasn't just some lady with a clipboard who liked rules. Nope. There was something way more interesting going on with her. Behind her quiet face and her calm little smile, something giant was hiding. It was like a surprise waiting to pop out and shock everyone. Nobody saw it coming: not Big Shaq, not the neighbors, not anybody. Anie kept it all locked up inside, and she didn't tell a soul. She just went about her day, acting normal, while this big secret bubbled up like soda about to fizz over the top of a glass. Let's paint the picture a little more. Big Shaq's mansion sat on a hill, looking down at the whole town. It had tall gates, bright lights, and that pool everyone talked about. The water in that pool was so clear and blue, it was like looking at the sky on a perfect day. Big Shaq would stand by it, waving at people driving by, showing off like he owned the whole world. "Look at me," his grin said. "I've got it all." And most people agreed. They'd whisper to each other, "Man, I wish I had a pool like that. Big Shaq is living the dream." He made sure everyone saw him, heard him, and knew he was the loudest guy around. Anie, though. She lived in a little house down the street. It wasn't big or fancy. It didn't have shiny cars parked outside or a pool that sparkled. It was just a plain, small house with a tiny garden in the front. She didn't care about showing off. She'd walk to work every day, wearing simple clothes, her hair tied back, and that clipboard in her hand. If you saw her, you'd think, "Oh, she's just the HOA lady. Nothing special." People would wave at Big Shaq like he was a movie star, but Anie? They barely looked her way. Sometimes they'd roll their eyes when she passed by, like, "Ugh, here comes the rule police." They didn't think she mattered much. But that's where they were wrong. So wrong. Anie wasn't like Big Shaq at all, but she had something he didn't. That secret of hers. It was like a hidden superpower. She wasn't loud or flashy, but she was smart. Really smart. And she watched everything. While Big Shaq was busy yelling and splashing in his pool, Anie was paying attention. She saw things nobody else did. She heard things nobody else cared about. And she kept it all tucked away, waiting for the right moment. What was her secret? Well, I'm not going to tell you just yet. That's part of the fun. You've got to stick around to find out what she was hiding and why it was going to change everything. So, let's talk about Big Shaq a little more. He wasn't just loud, he was kind of mean, too. He didn't like rules. He thought rules were for other people, not him. If the HOA said, "No loud music after 10 p.m., BigShaq would turn his speakers up even louder. If they said, "Don't park your cars all over the street," he'd park 3 of them just to mess with everyone. He'd laugh and say, "What are they gonna do about it? I'm BigShaq." And most of the time, people let him get away with it because he was so big and bold. They didn't want to argue with him. But Anie? She wasn't scared of him. Not even a little bit. She'd write him notes about the rules, and he'd just rip them up and toss them in his pool, laughing like it was a game. That's where our story starts to get good. BigShaq thought he was untouchable. He thought Anie was just a quiet nobody who couldn't do anything to stop him. But he didn't know what was coming. He didn't know that Anie's secret was about to turn his loud, flashy world upside down. It all started with that pool, the one he loved so much. Something big was going to happen, and it was going to start right there. Can you feel it? The excitement building up? It's like when you're waiting for a surprise and you don't know what's in the box, but you know it's going to be amazing. So here's my question for you: have you ever met someone who seemed totally normal but turned out to be super surprising? Like, maybe they were quiet, but then they did something so cool it shocked you? I want to hear about it. Drop your answer in the comments below because I bet you've got some fun stories. And while you're at it, tell me where you're watching from today. This story's just getting started, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens next. BigShaq's big grin? It's about to get wiped right off his face, thanks to Anie and her mysterious secret. Stick with me, and let's see how this wild ride unfolds. Okay, let's dive into the next part of our story. Things are about to get exciting, so hold on tight. It all started with that pool, yep, BigShaq's big, shiny pool that sparkled like a million stars. He loved that pool more than anything. It was his favorite thing to show off. Every weekend, he'd throw wild parties there. The music was so loud it made the whole neighborhood shake. Boom, 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 the bass would rattle windows, and you could hear people laughing and shouting from miles away. BigShaq would stand by the pool, grinning like he owned the whole world, splashing water everywhere and yelling, "This is the life." But not everyone was happy about those parties. Anie, the quiet HOA lady, didn't like all that noise one bit. She had rules to follow, and BigShaq was breaking them big time. One day, she walked right up to his giant mansion, her clipboard in her hand, and knocked on his fancy gate. When BigShaq came out, she looked him straight in the eye and said, "You need to keep it down, BigShaq. All this noise is trouble. The rules say no loud parties after 10 at night." Her voice was calm, but you could tell she meant business. She wasn't yelling or anything, she was just trying to do her job. Now, you'd think BigShaq would listen, right? Nope. He didn't care at all. He just laughed right in her face, loud and mean. "Ha! You're just a nobody, Anie," he said, his voice booming like his music. He grabbed a soda can from his hand, took a big sip, and then tossed it right into his shiny pool like it was a trash can. Plop! The can sank into the water, and he smirked at her. "Rules? Those don't apply to me. I do what I want." Then he turned around and walked back to his party, leaving Anie standing there all alone by the gate. He didn't even look back. That wasn't the end of it, though. BigShaq kept acting like he was the king of everything. The next night, he threw another party even louder than before. The music blasted so hard it felt like the ground was shaking. People danced around the pool, spilling drinks and yelling. Neighbors peeked out their windows, annoyed, but too scared to say anything. BigShaq didn't care who he bothered. He'd shout, "This is my house. My pool. My rules." And every time Anie sent him a note about the noise, he'd rip it up and laugh. "She can't stop me," he'd say, tossing the pieces into the wind. The neighbors started talking about Anie behind her back, too. They didn't like how she kept trying to make BigShaq follow the rules. "She's too strict," they'd whisper to each other when she wasn't around. "Who does she think she is, telling BigShaq what to do? He's the big shot around here." Some of them even rolled their eyes when they saw her walking by. "There goes Anie again with her silly clipboard," they'd grumble. "She's no fun. She just wants to ruin everything." They didn't think she was important. To them, she was just the boring lady who cared too much about quiet nights and clean streets. But here's the thing, Anie didn't let any of that bother her. She didn't cry or get mad when BigShaq laughed at her. She didn't yell back when the neighbors talked behind her back. She just kept doing her job, day after day. Every morning, she'd walk by BigShaq's giant mansion on her way to check the neighborhood. Her eyes were sharp, like she was looking for something nobody else could see. Her steps were steady, like she wasn't scared of anything. She didn't say much, but there was something about the way she moved that made you stop and think. Was she really just mad about the noise? Or was there something bigger going on inside her head? See, BigShaq thought he had everyone figured out. He thought Anie was weak because she didn't shout or fight back. She's nothing, he'd tell his party friends. Just a quiet little mouse trying to boss me around. Ha! He'd splash in his pool and turn the music up louder just to prove he didn't care what she said. And the neighbors? They agreed with him. They thought Anie was silly for even trying. She'll give up soon, they'd say. Nobody can stop BigShaq. He's too big, too loud, too cool. They figured she'd get tired of writing notes and walking by his house every day. They thought she'd just disappear and let him win. But Anie wasn't like that. She didn't give up. She kept coming back, watching, waiting. Every time BigShaq laughed at her, she'd just nod a little, like she knew something he didn't. Every time he broke a rule, she'd write it down on her clipboard, her pen moving fast and quiet. She didn't argue or make a big fuss. She stayed calm, like a lake with no waves. And that calmness? It was kind of spooky. It made you wonder, what was she thinking? Was she just annoyed about the parties, or was there something way bigger hiding behind her quiet face? You couldn't tell by looking at her, but you could feel it. Something was coming, and it was going to be a surprise nobody saw coming. BigShaq didn't notice any of that, though. He was too busy being loud and flashy. He'd stand by his pool, waving at cars driving by, yelling, "Look at me. I'm the best." He thought he was untouchable, like nothing could ever bring him down. He'd see Anie walking by and laugh. "There's that rule lady again," he'd say to his friends. "She's so boring. What's she gonna do? Tell me to be quiet again." Then he'd crank the music up even more, just to mess with her. He didn't think she could do anything to stop him. He didn't think she mattered at all. But that's where the tension started to grow. BigShaq kept pushing, and Anie kept watching. The neighbors kept whispering, and Anie kept walking. Every loud party, every mean laugh, every soda can in the pool, it was like a little spark, building up to something big. You could almost hear it, like a storm getting ready to break. Anie wasn't just some nobody, and deep down, you knew it. She was quiet, sure, but that quiet felt strong, not weak. It felt like she was holding something back, something that was going to change everything. What was it? Well, we're not there yet, but trust me, it's worth sticking around to find out. What do you think Anie's going to do next? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to hear your ideas. Alright, story fans, things are heating up now. Let's jump back in. Weeks went by after BigShaq laughed at Anie, and he didn't stop being loud and wild. He kept pushing and pushing, like he wanted to see how far he could go. His parties got bigger and crazier every time. One night, he threw the wildest party yet. It was out of control. Cars were parked all over the street, blocking everyone's way. People were yelling and dancing like crazy around his shiny pool. The music was so loud it felt like the whole town was shaking. Boom, boom, boom. Trash started piling up everywhere, empty cups, soda cans, even wrappers floated in the pool. By the end of the night, that sparkling pool didn't look so sparkly anymore. It was a mess, overflowing with junk, and BigShaq didn't even care. He just laughed and kept the party going. That was the night Anie had enough. She'd been watching all this time, quiet as ever, but something inside her snapped. Not in a loud, yelling way, though. Nope, that wasn't Anie's style. She didn't scream or stomp her feet. She did something way sneakier, something nobody saw coming. The next morning, BigShaq woke up, stretched his arms, and looked out his big mansion window. He rubbed his eyes because he couldn't believe what he saw. His precious pool, the one he loved more than anything, was gone. Completely gone. Where the water used to sparkle, there was just a big pile of dirt. It was filled in, like the pool had never even been there. No water, no shimmer, nothing. Just a flat, boring patch of earth. BigShaq ran outside in his pajamas, his mouth wide open. "What happened?" he shouted. That's when he saw a little note stuck to his doorstep. He picked it up and read it. "Violation corrected. Anie." It was from the HOA, signed by her. His face turned red, and his hands shook. He couldn't believe it. His pool, his pride and joy, was gone, and Anie's name was right there on the paper. He kicked the dirt where the pool used to be and yelled, "She's gonna pay for this. Nobody messes with Big Shaq." He was so mad he could barely think straight. He grabbed his car keys and stormed off to find her. Big Shaq drove fast to Anie's tiny office down the street. It wasn't a big, fancy place like his mansion, just a little room with a desk and a chair. He slammed the door open and marched inside, pointing his finger at her. "You did this, didn't you?" he roared. "You filled in my pool. I know it was you." But Anie didn't jump or look scared. She just sat there, calm as could be, sipping her coffee like it was any other day. She looked up at him with those sharp eyes of hers and said, "You've got no proof it was me." Then she gave a tiny smirk, just a little one, but it was enough to make Big Shaq even madder. He wanted to yell more, but something about her calm face stopped him. He didn't know what to say, so he just huffed and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Here's the thing, Big Shaq didn't know it yet, but he was walking right into a trap. Every angry step he took, every shout he made, was pulling him deeper into something he couldn't escape. Anie wasn't just messing with him for fun. She had a plan, and that filled-in pool? It was only the start. She was hiding something big, something huge, and it was starting to peek out little by little. You could feel it in the air, something exciting was coming, and it was going to shake everything up. Back at his mansion, Big Shaq couldn't stop pacing. He looked at the dirt where his pool used to be and growled, "She can't get away with this." He called his party friends over and told them what happened. "That rule lady filled in my pool," he said, waving the note around. "We've gotta do something." His friends nodded and cheered him on. "Yeah, Big Shaq. Show her who's boss," they shouted. They didn't like Anie either, they thought she was boring and bossy. So Big Shaq started making a plan. "I'll throw the biggest party ever," he said. "I'll show her she can't stop me." He didn't have a pool anymore, but he didn't care. He'd make noise and cause trouble anyway, just to get back at her. Meanwhile, Anie stayed quiet. She went about her day like nothing happened. She walked by Big Shaq's mansion with her clipboard, her steps steady, her face calm. If you saw her, you'd think she didn't have a care in the world. But if you looked closer, you'd see that tiny smirk again, that little twinkle in her eye. She wasn't just sitting around waiting for Big Shaq to yell at her. She was watching him, listening, keeping track of everything he did. Every time he threw a fit or broke a rule, she wrote it down. She was building something, step by step, and nobody knew what it was not yet. The neighbors started noticing things, too. They saw the filled-in pool and whispered to each other. "Didn't he really do that?" they asked. Some of them thought it was funny. "Big Shaq's not laughing now," they'd giggle. Others were mad. "She's gone too far," they said. "Who does she think she is, messing with his pool?" But nobody knew for sure if it was her. There was no proof, just that note with her name on it. And Anie? She didn't say a word about it. She just kept walking, kept watching, kept smiling that tiny smile. It made people wonder. Was she really just mad about the parties, or was there more to her? Was she hiding something bigger than anyone could guess? Big Shaq didn't stop to think about that. He was too busy being loud and angry. He started planning his next big move, telling everyone, "I'll show her. She thinks she's smart, but I'm smarter." He didn't see the trap closing around him. He didn't see how every loud word he said, every mean thing he did, was making things worse for him. Anie's calm little smirk said it all. She wasn't scared of him. She was ready for him. And that filled-in pool? It was like a clue, a small hint of what was coming next. It wasn't just about the pool. It was about something way bigger, something that would flip Big Shaq's world upside down. You could feel it building, couldn't you? That excitement, that wonder. What was Anie up to? She wasn't loud like Big Shaq, but she was strong in her own quiet way. Every day that passed, every move Big Shaq made, brought him closer to a huge surprise. What was she hiding? What was her secret? We're not there yet, but trust me, It's going to be awesome. What do you think Anie's going to do next? Drop your guesses in the comments, I'd love to hear what you think. This story's getting wild, and we're just getting started. Okay, story fans, this is it, the big moment you've been waiting for. Things are about to get wild, so hold on tight. The day of reckoning came fast, like a loud thunderclap booming out of nowhere. BigShaq was ready to fight back. He was so mad about his filled-in pool that he decided to make a huge scene. He called everyone in the neighborhood to come to his mansion. "Get over here," he yelled. "I'm gonna show you all what a mean, petty tyrant Anie is." He stood in front of his big house, pointing at her, his voice loud and angry. "She's ruined my life," he shouted, waving his arms like a crazy person. "She filled in my pool and thinks she can boss me around. I'm done with her." The neighbors gathered around, whispering to each other. Some of them nodded, thinking, "Yeah, BigShaq's right, Anie's too strict." Others just watched, curious about what would happen. BigShaq grinned, sure he was going to win. He thought he'd make Anie look silly in front of everyone and get his revenge. He crossed his arms and stared at her, waiting for her to back down. "Go on, Anie," he said. "Tell them why you ruined my pool. Tell them how mean you are." He was so sure she'd be scared or run away. After all, he was BigShaq, loud, flashy, and untouchable. Who could stand up to him? But Anie? She didn't even blink. She didn't look scared or worried at all. She stood there, calm as ever, like nothing could shake her. Then she took a step forward, and everyone got quiet. She was holding a big stack of papers in her hands, papers that looked important. The crowd froze, wondering what she was up to. BigShaq's grin started to fade, just a little. Anie looked right at him, her eyes sharp and steady, and said, "Let's talk about who's really ruining things around here." Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like a knife. Everyone leaned in, listening hard. What did she mean? What was she going to say? Then came the big reveal, the moment that changed everything. Anie held up those papers and started talking. "BigShaq isn't just a loudmouth," she said. "He's been doing sneaky, bad stuff behind your backs." The crowd gasped, their eyes wide. "What? BigShaq? Sneaky?" Anie kept going. "He's been buying up land all over the neighborhood secretly. He was planning to kick families out of their homes and build a giant mall right here." She waved the papers in the air. "I've got proof, letters, plans, everything. He didn't care about you. He just wanted more money and more power." The neighbors started buzzing like bees. "What?" they whispered. "Kick us out? A mall?" They couldn't believe it. BigShaq's face went pale, like all the color drained out of it. He opened his mouth to say something, but nothing came out. He looked around, nervous now, as everyone stared at him. Anie wasn't done yet. She took a deep breath and dropped the biggest surprise of all. "And me," she said. "I'm not just the HOA lady. I'm an undercover investigator. I've been watching BigShaq for months, waiting for the right time to stop him." The crowd went wild. "An investigator," they shouted. "Undercover?" Jaws dropped, and people clapped their hands over their mouths. Anie, the quiet lady with the clipboard, was a secret hero? Nobody saw that coming. She stood there, still calm, while everyone freaked out around her. "That pool," she said, pointing to the spot where it used to be. "That was my warning shot. I filled it in to tell BigShaq he couldn't keep breaking rules and hurting people. But he didn't listen. So now, here we are." BigShaq's knees wobbled. He looked like he might fall over. "No way," he yelled, but his voice wasn't so loud anymore. "You're lying. You can't prove anything." But Anie just held up the papers again. "Oh, I can," she said. "It's all right here, every sneaky thing you did. You messed with the wrong quiet girl, BigShaq." The neighbors started cheering for Anie. "Yeah," they shouted. "Get him, Anie." Gasps and yells rippled through the crowd like waves. They couldn't believe it. BigShaq, the big, loud guy with the fancy cars, was a sneaky bad guy all along. And Anie? She was the one who caught him. BigShaq tried to argue. "This is crazy," he said. "She's making it up. You can't trust her." But nobody listened to him anymore. They were too busy looking at Anie like she was a superhero. She didn't yell or show off, she just stood there with her papers, letting the truth do all the talking. The neighbors started asking questions. "How did you find out?" one lady asked. "How long have you been watching him?" a kid shouted. Anie smiled a little, not a big grin like BigShaq's, but a small, quiet one. "I've been doing my job," she said. "Keeping an eye on things. That's all you need to know for now." BigShaq's big moment was over. He wasn't the king of the neighborhood anymore. His flashy cars, his loud parties, his shiny pool, none of it mattered now. Everyone saw him for what he really was, a guy who cared more about himself than anyone else. He looked around, trying to find anyone who'd take his side, but they all turned away. His face went from pale to red, then back to pale again. He was done, and he knew it. "You'll regret this," he shouted at Anie, shaking his fist. But it didn't sound tough, it sounded weak, like a kid throwing a tantrum. Anie didn't even flinch. She just looked at him and said, "No, BigShaq. You're the one who's going to regret it." And with that, the crowd erupted again. "Woohoo," they cheered. "Anie's the best." Kids jumped up and down, and grown-ups clapped their hands. BigShaq's big, loud world was crashing down, all because of the quiet lady nobody noticed until now. She'd been hiding her secret for months, waiting for this exact moment. And when it hit hard, like that thunderclap we talked about. Hey, story fans. We're at the end of this wild ride, and it's time for everything to wrap up nice and neat. The truth about BigShaq hit the neighborhood hard like a big, loud bang. After Anie showed everyone those papers and told them what he'd been up to, things moved fast. Cops showed up at his mansion, their lights flashing red and blue. They had handcuffs ready, and they didn't waste any time. "BigShaq, you're coming with us," they said. He tried to argue, yelling, "You can't do this." But they didn't listen. They put the cuffs on his wrists and hauled him away to jail. Everyone watched as he disappeared into the police car, his head hanging low. The loud guy wasn't so loud anymore. What happened to his big, fancy mansion? Well, it didn't stay empty for long. The neighborhood decided to take it and turn it into something awesome, a community center. Yep, that giant house he'd used to show off became a place for everyone. Kids could play there, grown-ups could hang out, and families could have fun together. It was the perfect way to fix what BigShaq had tried to ruin. He'd wanted to kick people out and build a mall, but now his own house was helping the neighborhood he'd hurt. How cool is that? Anie didn't brag or cheer about it, though. She didn't stand up and say, "Look at me. I won." Nope, that wasn't her style. After the cops took BigShaq away, she just nodded like it was no big deal and walked back to her little office. She sat down at her desk, picked up her coffee, and got back to work, like it was just another day. The neighbors couldn't believe it. They'd been so mean to her before, whispering behind her back and calling her strict. Now they felt bad, really bad. They ran up to her, saying, "Anie, we're so sorry. We had no idea you were saving us." Over and over, they apologized. "We didn't know," they said. Anie just smiled her little smile and said, "Most people don't." That was it, no yelling, no "I told you so." She was chill, like always. But the best part? That spot where BigShaq's pool used to be, the one Anie filled with dirt, turned into something beautiful. The neighbors got together and made it a garden. They planted flowers, red ones, yellow ones, purple ones, all blooming bright and pretty. Everyone could walk by and enjoy it. Kids would run around, picking flowers for their moms, and old folks would sit on benches nearby, smiling at how nice it looked. It was way better than that old, trash-filled pool. BigShaq's reign was over for good, and Anie showed everyone she was the real boss, not with loud words or flashy stuff, but with smarts and a quiet strength. Hey there, story buddies. We've made it to the end of this crazy tale about BigShaq and Anie, and now it's time to think about what it all means. Here's the big thing I want you to remember: sometimes the loudest people act like they're the bosses of everything. They shout and show off, thinking that makes them the strongest. BigShaq was like that, right? He had his big mansion, his loud parties, and that shiny pool, and he thought no one could touch him. He'd laugh and say, "I'm the best." But guess what? He was wrong. The quiet ones like Anie are the ones you've really got to watch out for. They don't need to yell or brag. They just do their thing and surprise you when you least expect it. Anie didn't win by being loud. She didn't need to shout or throw a big fit. All she needed was the truth. She had those papers, her smarts, and a plan, and that was enough to bring BigShaq down. She stayed calm and quiet the whole time, even when he laughed in her face or when the neighbors whispered mean stuff about her. She didn't care about being flashy, she cared about doing what was right. And in the end, that's what made her the real winner. The truth was her superpower, and it was way stronger than BigShaq's loud music or fancy cars. So, here's something to think about next time you see someone who seems ordinary. Don't be so sure. Maybe they're quiet like Anie. Maybe they don't talk a lot or show off. But that doesn't mean they're weak or boring. They could be hiding something amazing, just waiting for the right moment to shine. They might be a hero, ready to jump in and save the day when no one expects it. Anie was like that. She looked like a regular lady with a clipboard, but she turned out to be an undercover investigator who saved the neighborhood. So, don't judge people too fast. The quiet ones might just surprise you and be the coolest of all. What did you think of Anie's revenge? Wasn't it awesome how she turned BigShaq's pool into a garden and stopped his sneaky plans? I want to hear what you think. Drop your ideas in the comments below. I love reading what you say. Did you cheer when the cops took BigShaq away? Did you smile when the neighbors said sorry to Anie? Tell me everything. And hey, if you like this story, stick around because I've got more fun ones coming your way. Stories that'll keep you guessing and make you go, wow, what happens next? So, don't go anywhere. See you next time for another adventure. You're the best, and I can't wait to hang out with you again.